Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are going to get started here in just a minute or two. Just going to give everyone a second to sort of filter in. Thank you all for joining us. If you'd like, please go ahead and put in the chat box where you're tuning in from. We'd love to know where you're located. Virginia, Portland, Arizona. Nice. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started now. My name is Catherine Swery. I am the content marketing specialist at ACHS. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Building Your Dream Team. Micro-credential Wellness Business Operations Specialist Program. So today's webinar, we're going to launch course 4 of the program, of the micro-credential program. And joining us today are ACHS President Tracey Abell. We also have HR Manager Jennifer Crown. And then also joining us today is Colleen Frazier, our Senior HR Business Partner at Xenium. So they'll all be introducing the program and provide a detailed overview of what you can expect to learn in course 4, the Wellness Business HR Essentials. So before I hand it over to Tracey, I just want to share a couple of housekeeping items. You may have noticed that your line has been muted. We're recording today's webinar, and this helps us to ensure better sound quality for everyone who's viewing the recording later. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat box at any time. We'll be taking a look at it throughout the presentation. And if you have any technical issues or questions, you can put those in there as well. I'll be working on the back end and responding to your chats as well. One thing to note about the chat box, there's a blue drop-down menu at the top. Please make sure that is set to everyone and not just hosts and panelists. And that way, everyone will be able to see your chats. And so I think now, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to our President, Tracey Abell. Can you hear Tracey? Are you there? We might have we're having a little bit of a technical issue. I can hear some sound.
Catherine, shall we introduce ourselves first while Tracey's getting ready?
Yeah, I think that would be great. I can see Tracey now.
Hello, everyone.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, and apologies. Wonderful to see you all from Portland, where our ACHS campus is, and across the country. Thank you, Catherine, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, I'd love to start with introductions. With us today is the ACHS HR Manager, Jennifer Crown. Jennifer is one of the authors, the primary contributor to our new micro-credential course, Wellness Business HR Essentials. Jennifer, would you like to share a little bit about your background?
Sure. Thank you, Tracey. Welcome, everyone. I am so happy to be participating in this webinar. I have over 20 years of HR experience supporting a number of organizations, both large and small. And I really love working with new managers and business owners to help them understand what's needed, and also to just enjoy helping to mentor and manage others. And I'm very happy to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I'd also like to welcome our special guest, Colleen from Xenium HR. Xenium HR and Colleen are partners that we work with at ACHS, and they offer a model that supports small businesses and large organizations in their HR operations. So Colleen, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here. And I work very closely with Jennifer and Tracey, supporting in an external model, HR model, outsourced HR. We support with payroll. Again, I'm from Xenium HR. Sorry, I should have backed up here. We are a company that supports businesses with payroll, benefits administration, HR compliance, just ensuring that, we're doing the work behind the scenes to ensure that your business kind of quote unquote stays out of trouble and is aware of the ever-changing employment laws and different things to remain compliant. So we've been supporting ACHS for a while now with the payroll function and benefit administration. And I'm happy to be here to hopefully offer some additional support as Tracey presents this webinar. I've been with Xenium for 5 years. I've been in the HR field for about 25 years. I came out of the legal field, so I have a little bit more of a legal background, legal mind when it comes to compliance. But I have an entire team that supports and is constantly, very fluidly researching everything HR to ensure we have the most up-to-date information for our clients. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you, Colleen. So one of the reasons that we invited Colleen is, first of all, because of her incredible expertise, and I know she'll have a lot to contribute to the conversation along with Jennifer and all of you. But I know for a small business in particular, even if you're a sole proprietor, HR considerations can seem overwhelming. And, particularly if you start working with employees, even a few who work in other states from where you are, it can become even more complex. Now, we're not going to get into a lot of the detail here today. We're going to stay a little bit high level, but we do share more information and resources along these lines within the micro-credential course that we'll be talking about today. At ACHS, for example, we have staff and faculty in about 20 states across the US. And so that's where expertise from someone like Xenium HR, along with our internal resources, can become really helpful. So let's get started with our discussion. Just briefly, for those of you who are joining us for the first time today, just a little bit about ACHS. We have over 45 years experience offering distance education, integrative health and wellness programs. We are accredited by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. We're also very proud to be a certified B Corporation, a benefit corporation, and a People and Planet First verified organization. Those are values that are really core to our mission and the way we operate, and it carries through all of our operations across the institution. We offer a wide range of certificate, diploma, and degree programs, and our micro-credentials, which you're here to learn more about today. Our mission and vision is to lead the advancement of evidence-based integrative health and wellness education. And for those of you who have already taken courses with us, our commitment is also to experiential online learning. So even though you're studying at a distance, you are getting that practical experience working with, for example, herbs, essential oils, discussing with your classmates, your faculty, and always doing that through the lens of sustainable practices. In today's webinar, we'll briefly cover the Wellness Business Operations Specialist Micro-Credential, which today we're going to specifically be talking about Course 4. We've been launching one course a month with the final series completed in September. We'll be doing a little bit of discussion, so there's going to be some interaction in this webinar talking about some HR principles and best practices, and then we'll give you a preview of the 4th course, the Wellness Business HR Essentials. So briefly, for those of you who are learning about this micro-credential for the first time, it is designed to be specific for wellness business professionals. So whether you're starting your business, you have an established practice, or maybe you're working in a wellness business, maybe a spa or healthcare facility, all of these are principles that can be applied. We've structured the modules to be short, accessible modules that give you practical experience and takeaways. And all of the presenters are experts in their field. They have professional experience in the field, like Jennifer today, who was the primary contributor to our course, and other inputs from colleagues like Colleen. And when you're operating a wellness business, of course, the first thing you're thinking about is the actual services you offer. That's usually the first thing you develop, and it's probably where your strengths are. But as you know, there's a lot that goes into running your own business or helping successfully run someone else's business. So that's what this micro-credential as a whole is designed to prepare you for. So who should take this? Anyone who is a current or aspiring entrepreneur, someone who's already a wellness practitioner, facility managers, consultants, and anyone who's in an operations, finance, or administrative role. So it's a very diverse micro-credential. The content is very diverse, and it can be applied in a wide range of settings. Some of the benefits are that you are learning focused knowledge that you can apply. It's designed to provide workplace readiness so that they are skills you can immediately put into practice. There's also a verified badge and transcript, so you will have credentials that you can promote to distinguish you among other professionals. And we really encourage you to do that. I personally use LinkedIn a lot for professional networking. I use it in recruiting. I connect with a wide range of organizations through LinkedIn. And so quick thing, if you haven't connected with me on LinkedIn yet, I invite you to. I love connecting with students and graduates. And also, I encourage you to share the skills you earn through the badges you earn at ACHS on your LinkedIn and other profiles. So as I shared today, we're talking specifically about our Wellness Business HR Essentials course. And we have 2 remaining courses coming out, one in August and one in September. So let's dive into talking about your background in human resources. So take a moment to pop into the chat box and tell us about your current experience. Have you managed people before? Have you had experience thinking about things like payroll? Or thinking about state taxes? What are the other fun things, Colleen and Jennifer, that our attendees may have experience with in HR?
Maybe interviewing, candidate selection, phone screens.
Writing a job posting, sitting in as a panelist on an interview, perhaps working as a manager for another organization.
Maybe creating or reviewing a job description.
How about being an employee? Thinking about your experience as an employee and what kind of an experience you might want to offer a future employee of yours.
Well, as you can see, there is a lot that goes into human resources. Great, I see someone has provided HR support for another small business in multiple roles. Great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some of the areas we talk about in our micro-credential course. Before we do that, I have to give an important disclaimer that this webinar is not designed to replace legal advice. So as we shared, human resources can be complex as you move state to state. So we're here providing some high-level information and considerations for you as you consider human resources for your organization. So please do make sure that when you start your business and on an ongoing basis, you have colleagues that you can connect with for specific legal advice. So I have to give that obligatory disclaimer, and we're excited about the conversation.
So why is HR planning so critical for success? Well, we all know that HR is about people. And people are the backbone of an organization. HR also encompasses a wide range of functions. So we've talked a bit about recruiting and hiring. It's also really important to have a plan for onboarding employees. And in the module, we talk about what onboarding is, what orientation is. Both of these approaches are designed to set employees up for success. Of course, with employees, we want to make sure that we are paying them correctly and making sure that they understand how they're being paid. And of course, there is the reality of taxes, and it's really important as an employer that you understand the taxes that need to be taken out of employees' paychecks, and that employees understand what's happening on their paychecks. It's also important to talk about managing employees and mentoring employees. Some other areas of HR are training. You may have an ideal candidate in mind, but the reality is that you may need to provide some training and mentorship to employees, especially in the wellness arena where we're so specialized. And finally, it's really important to develop these best practices early on to set your business up for success. So if you're thinking that you may want to hire an employee in about a month, you're probably a little late to start thinking about the planning. And this course is designed to set you up for success and help you understand those things to think about so far in advance. So one of the things we talk about is hiring. So when you consider the need to hire an employee, it's important to consider what the gaps are you're trying to fill. So let's say, for example, you've got an amazing product line, and you've really dialed in with your processes and your formulations, and your sales are just wonderful. And you're finding that you're having a hard time meeting the demand. So it's time to bring somebody in to assist. And in this case, if you're sticking with that same product line, you may be looking for somebody to come in and fill a job that's already being done. Now, another possibility is you're getting requests for a different product line or a different service. And in this case, you might be looking for an employee to help expand and diversify your business. And so that's a little bit different. You're finding somebody to be into a job that hasn't been done before. So there's a little bit more preparation there. Of course, you'll want to consider a budget. So if you're bringing somebody in and let's say you think you might need to pay them about $25 an hour. Well, first of all, you want to make sure that that's the market rate for that job and those skills, and then also understand the additional expenses besides just the hourly wage. So there's taxes, you may be wanting to provide benefits. There are some benefits that as an employer you may be required to provide. Others you may not be required to provide them, but if 90% of the other businesses or comparable businesses are providing that, you may want to look at your quote unquote competition for employees and determine what you need to provide in order to be competitive. The other thing to consider as a sole proprietor, what it's going to feel like to have somebody working side by side with you, especially if it's something that you're really passionate about and feels really personal to you. Of course, you're going to want to bring somebody in and you're having an established set of processes, but personality also comes into play. And that's something else to think about as you're preparing to bring somebody into your business.
Well, Jennifer, I think those are all very important considerations. And, in terms of one thing that I use as a rule of thumb in terms of you were talking about payroll and sort of thinking about those additional costs over and above wages. It can really vary. For us, I think we use a rule of thumb of 20% over what the wage is. And that's probably going to be a good range. If you are in a position of being able to or needing to offer benefits. So if you think about taxes, those types of things. So just in terms of a rough budgeting, and in this micro-credential, one of the courses provides a module on budgeting. So this would be something you could refer to there. I use about 20% over the wage. I wonder, Colleen, when it comes to considerations for hiring, for smaller businesses, is there anything else that comes to mind for you that you'd recommend people think about?
Yeah, I think an important thing to keep in mind also is just generational differences. So when you're hiring somebody that may represent a different generation than you are from, just also acknowledging that there may be a different work ethic, there may be different experience that comes into play. I think we all go into hiring with the best of intentions, and our expectations of that candidate are that they will align with our thinking, but then just also, ensuring that we take the appropriate amount of time to, get to know this person a little bit better, especially in the sole proprietorship arena, that, we're going to be spending potentially a lot of time with them, and just really acknowledging the different background that they may be bringing with them, and, just really looking into that and considering that when you're looking for what you need. The other thing is to make very sure that you know exactly what the position is. So even if it's just jotting it down on a notepad or whatever you want, however you want to get it down, identify what exactly you need. Are you looking for somebody with X experience? Does it matter if they don't have any former management experience or former customer service experience? Just be very clear on what you're looking for, and then anything in addition to that they bring to the table would just be a bonus.
Well, I think those are really important points. And two things that come to mind. One is, if you are a sole proprietor, or you've started your business, this is your passion. It is your life. It's your livelihood. And I have many friends, and of course our graduates, who have started their own business. And sometimes it can be difficult when you start hiring, because they don't necessarily have the same level of passion and commitment. Now, you'll also get lucky, and always there are people who will and do have share the passion. They're really committed to your mission and vision. That's something that I feel fortunate about here at ACHS, is that every single team member is so deeply committed to our mission. But I do think it's a little different when you've started your business. So something to keep in mind. And also, you hear a lot about this, but neurodiversity in the workplace. We all learn differently. We all benefit from a different training model potentially. And so it can take a little bit of time to really learn how someone needs to be trained. What kind of materials do they need? I'm someone, I love something written down. Give me a bulleted list of what to do. I like to watch you do it, and then I try it. That's how I learn, but everyone is so different. So that's where, Jennifer was talking about this too, that onboarding process. Think about how you can be really intentional with it. Sometimes when you're running a small business, that's difficult, right? You just need help. You need help. So our intent with this micro-credential is to help you be strategic about making those decisions.
So this is a great segue. So one of the topics we cover in the course is recruiting new employees. And it's like Colleen said, it's really important to put a lot of time and effort and thought into your job description and your job posting, so that you're recruiting candidates with the knowledge and the experience and skills that you're looking for. Now, we go into details about researching job descriptions and job postings, and creating an ad that appeals to candidates. So you want the job posting to be accurate insofar as the skills and responsibilities, but it's also a great opportunity to also convey the values and the mission of your organization and your business. You'll see in a lot of job postings, companies will put their mission statement, talk about their values. They'll talk about what they give back to their community. I love reading job postings. Some of them are they're so interesting. They help me learn more about the business and the organization. Sometimes you'll see in job postings, there'll even be a blurb about when the company started, what year, something about the founder. So again, we cover this in the course and give some tips for researching best practices. Now, it's really important to develop a process for evaluating candidates. And the evaluation starts at the point in which you're reading through resumes. Now, depending on the job and the market, you know, you may see dozens and dozens of resumes for your position, and you're already hiring because you're busy. So you want an efficient and effective way of assessing candidates. And we talk about some best practices, including a phone screen before an interview. It's important to have a consistent process so that you're evaluating candidates using the same set of questions and the same set of approach. And, you know, like Colleen alluded to, you may also see generational differences in the way that candidates progress through an interview process. The interview process is also an opportunity to start setting expectations. So if you think that everyone coming through the process may be a potential employee, right? And one of your expectations and values as a business is to provide amazing customer service at every point in your business. Well, that starts with the customer service you're providing to your candidates. So you want to have a smooth, organized process with communication through the process, etc. And then, as I said, your recruitment is also a great PR opportunity. You know, even if you have a candidate you interview, and it turns out they're not a great fit for your business, chances are they're going to be in your wellness community, right? They may work for another organization. They may end up as your peer. And this might be a great opportunity to develop an initial relationship with them. And, you know, I've seen some online reviews from employees who interview with organizations, and they say, I didn't get the job, but the process was really wonderful and I felt welcomed and I learned a lot about this organization. So yeah, I think, I don't know if anyone has anything to add about the recruitment stage of the process here.
I think one thing I'd like to add is that a job posting should be different than the job description. We've all seen job postings that you can tell they just copied and pasted it directly out of the job description. And who wants to read through 6 pages of a job description when they're just wanting to get kind of the high level of this company? So, you know, your job posting, as Jennifer mentioned, should be exciting. Tell me something amazing about this company. Why would I want to work for you? What are some of the, you know, the components of, you know, what's important to me? What benefits do I offer? Why is your posting going to stand out compared to someone else? So just keep that in mind too. You know, look for some colorful language, some things, colorful but appropriate language, in addition to you know, the key points, and Folks are looking for, what are the benefits? How much am I going to get paid? What is the mission of this organization? Especially folks that are mission driven. They want to work for some place that aligns with their particular goals and missions as well.
Mhm. So we thought it would be helpful to talk a little bit about how you approach interviewing. And we'd really love to hear from each of you in the chat box. There are some pretty clear interview question don'ts, things that are not appropriate to ask during the interview. But, you know, now you've thought about hiring, you're ready to hire, you're starting to recruit, those applications are coming in, and you've identified some candidates that you're excited to meet. So first of all, what are some things, and you could put these in the chat box, that would not be appropriate to ask during an interview? And we'll ask our panelists, Colleen and Jennifer, to maybe share one or two to start the conversation.
I remember being interviewed back in the mid-90s, and I had shared that I had children. In this interview, I had voluntarily shared that. And the interviewer said, oh, okay, you've identified you have multiple children. You know, this is a full-time position. Do you have adequate daycare? So that was something I was asked that is not appropriate to ask. It's not up to my employer to identify what my personal life and how I manage my family. Can I do the job, right? Can I show up to work? These are the hours. Does that work for you? Are you able to support that?
Yeah, I think there are several of those types of questions that were common to hear in an interview for some time, and it's not appropriate. What are some other things? I'd love to hear from the audience. Oh, great! I see Jennifer Adams has shared some. Yes, definitely not questions related to age, sex, race, you know, anything that could be perceived as potentially discriminatory. Jennifer, what are some other things that come to mind for things that you want to really avoid in an interview?
Right. You know, and sometimes, you know, the question can be well intended. So for example, I worked at an organization where, we had a number of employees who, were at the age where they were starting to have kids. And I had a manager who in their interview asked the candidate about their plans for having children and expanding a family. Now, it might have been well intended, but that could be quite problematic for a number of reasons. There are maybe organizations where that might not be seen as favorable because the employee would go on leave, or maybe they would, you know, cost more money in benefits. So that's definitely a question that you wouldn't want to ask.
Yeah, the best practice, and you know, Jennifer and Colleen can certainly expand on this, is really to focus your interview questions around the responsibilities of the position and, you know, your organization's mission and vision. So what are some questions that you would want to ask in an interview? Particularly if any of you have interviewing experience, you know, do you have a favorite interview question? And not the where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or does anyone have a particular approach that they like to take in asking interview questions? I'll also ask Jennifer and Colleen to share if you have maybe one or two favorite interview questions, specific questions or question styles.
I think this is why it's really important to ensure before the interview that you know exactly what you're looking for. So then you are able to cater, these specify these questions on what you're looking for. So maybe a question that I actually like is, give me an example of a time when you've been very successful in a stressful situation. So maybe I'll give an example that would be appropriate for that role. So you're getting product out the door, and all of a sudden your deadline got moved up. Now all of a sudden you've got to work a lot quicker than you were intending. So I'll give a question that's specific to, like, how would, like, this is something that could happen in this role. How would you typically handle that, or how have you been successful in handling that in the past?
Mm-hmm.
That's a great.
Oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, and that's good. That's a great question. And you'll notice it's not a close-ended question. So we're not asking, do you handle yourself well in stressful situations? You're likely to get a yes. So with all your questions, you want to do your best to keep them open-ended.
Mm-hmm. There's a good question in the chat box. Why are you a good fit? Why should we hire you? Something I always like to ask is, what should we know about you? What would you like us to know about you that's not on your resume or that we haven't talked about today? I think people are so interesting, and, sometimes giving them an opportunity to share more about, how they came to this profession, or what really attracted them to your position or your organization, that can be a really useful conversation.
A question I like to start out with is, first of all, how did you hear about us? Where did you see our job posting? There in the course, we give some tips for where to post your job. And there are certainly a number of options that are low or no cost. But you may want to make an investment in advertising your position, especially if it's you're looking for some very unique skills. So you want to know what is most effective, what source is most effective. So I start with that. And then I'll ask, what appealed to you most about this position? Because that will, first of all, help you understand what really excites the candidate about the role. And then you can also make sure to sell the job, because you're also selling the job. You're interviewing the candidate, but they're also interviewing you. So if there's a component of the job that really excites the candidate, maybe help to give some more information about that to even pique their interest even more.
Great. Well, we share a few best practices in this presentation, so you'll receive this in as a follow-up to the webinar. So if we advance to the next slide, I think we've done a great job in our conversation of covering some of the best practices we mentioned, like the open-ended questions. And, I think that is so important, in many settings. So even in your practice, avoiding those yes/no questions will elicit a much richer response from the person that you're working with, the client that you're seeing. And that is a skill. It takes time to develop, having open-ended questions come naturally. So something to think about. Maybe it's something helpful for you in other areas. And then, as we talked about, be careful not to ask personal questions that could be discriminatory. Again, as Jennifer said, even if that's not your intent, it's important to be intentional about that.
And I think, just to comment on that a bit more, what would be the purpose for asking about age? So maybe you're making some assumptions that if somebody is older, they're probably not going to be great with computers, or they're really not going to understand social media. They may not like doing this aspect of the job. You can get those questions answered by asking, tell me about your computer skills. Tell me about your social marketing skills. This job requires that you stand 4 or 5 hours a day and lift 30-pound boxes. Can you do that? And you would ask those questions of a young person or somebody who's older.
I think that's really important, Jennifer, because, we all have such unique experience. I think there are sort of societal stereotypes, that we're all familiar with. And they're not accurate. I think about my grandmother, for example, who was a nurse and a professor throughout her career. And she actually taught online until she was 83. She had so much experience to offer and she loved online. It's just, you really want to get to know the individual and give them an opportunity to share their experience. And this is more of what Jennifer was talking about. So, we provide some sample questions here and also in the course. So within the course, you'll have an opportunity to develop these things for yourself and for your business.
I want to say one comment on the things to avoid. I don't know if you're familiar with protected classes, but you want to avoid anything that's related to a protected class, such as national origin, citizenship, religion, marital status, veteran status, sex, gender, anything that is that may fall into a protected class. So that's something I've, of course, I'm in this every day and I do trainings on this type of thing, but just keep in mind, and maybe even you put Google search, what is a protected class, just to kind of, ensure, because there have been additional categories that have been added over the years. So you just want to keep that top of mind as well.
And I think the second bullet point here might address, why would I want to know about somebody's background? Why would I want to know, about their race or ethnicity? Is that because I'm making an assumption that if they fit into a certain category, that means they will have this attitude, or they will be comfortable working with a certain group of people, or they wouldn't be comfortable? This question might give you the answers to that. Can you tell me about a time that you worked with people whose background and experience different from yours?
So setting your employees up for success. You've reached the stage, you've hired someone, and now it's time to really help them be successful. And, being in a small organization, I think back to my professional experience, I think this is among one of the hardest things. You might think it's the hiring part, the recruiting part, the interviewing, but really having a process for setting employees up for success from the moment they start, how you bring them into the culture of your organization, how you help them build relationships, maybe that's with you if you're a sole proprietor, or with other team members, and giving them some idea of what to expect. What is their training going to look like? What milestones should they be hitting? And if they don't, what other training or development opportunities are there? These things take time. And I certainly know in my experience, there have been times when it's been challenging to do this effectively. Maybe we, have a particular deadline for something, and, we need extra help and expertise in an area. And you hear people say all the time, I need someone who can hit the ground running. Well, no matter how much experience someone has, they still need some experience with your organization. So for me, that's something I have really had to teach myself to pause and remember. No one can hit the ground running immediately in an organization. They might have the hard skills and they've got, the soft skills to communicate and, those types of things, but they need to learn your organization. And it's hard to sometimes be patient through that process, but you and the employee will be more successful if there is time to do that. I know Jennifer works with all of us when we bring team members on to develop this framework for their onboarding, and also making sure there are touch points for when they'll receive feedback, how they can ask questions. Sometimes new employees are nervous to ask questions. So if you set the tone right up front that you want those questions, and you have the grace to be open to them, it will be a much more successful relationship. There's that saying that when you start in an organization, you only have fresh eyes for so long, and those fresh eyes can be really effective in helping your business improve. So think about it from that perspective. So let's take a brief look at our new course. So the course 4 in our Wellness Business Operations Specialist Micro-Credential is the HR Essentials. And it's divided into several modules. The first module is on hiring. So helping you evaluate when to hire, and really practical questions that you can ask. And then a highlight, an overview of the key HR laws and regulations for you to be familiar with, and how to find resources for your state. Because again, they can vary. And in some places, they can vary even by county. I know in Oregon, we've had different regulations for the county where the college is located compared to the state overall. So those are some things to be aware of. And Jennifer covers these in the first module. In the second module, the course continues with the recruiting process. So both Jennifer and Colleen talked about the importance of an effective job description. And then where do you recruit? You might have no budget. You might have a larger budget for recruiting. So how can you really be strategic about the recruitment process? And then with it's called compliance management, but it's really thinking about employee management. Some of the things that we've been talking about in today's webinar, some of the management essentials, and giving you some tools and resources that you could adopt for your organization. The course gives you opportunities to interact with the content, to test your knowledge, and really apply what you're learning. We want you, again, to take away from this course tangible, practical skills that you can put into practice. Just a few FAQs about the micro-credential. We have the full 6-course micro-credential, and you do have the ability to take individual courses. This, I know, came up in our last webinar, which was on the finance essentials for a small business, and several people were interested in that particular component. So you can take an individual course or the full micro-credential. And with the micro-credential, you have access to the content on an ongoing basis. You can register now, and you have up to a year to start the micro-credential. At the end of this presentation and in our follow-up email, you'll receive a promotional code so that you can take advantage of the micro-credential at a discounted price. And again, we have 2 additional courses that will be available over the next 2 months. So our intent is for you to take the time with each course to really apply the learning. You can move through it at your own pace. And again, you do receive your badges, your skill verification badges for each course as you're building these skills. HR Essentials, strategic planning is within our first course, for example. And then when you've completed all 6 courses, you have earned the Wellness Business Operations Specialist micro-credential. As I mentioned, they are self-paced, so you can study at your own schedule and anywhere you have internet. So I'd like to open it up for any questions from attendees and any final words of wisdom from our panelists, Jennifer and Colleen.
Well, yeah, I'd love to know if there are any questions, or perhaps if there's something that you learned today that was new to you, or something that just made you really think about some preparation that you may need to do. I guess what I'll say is, I love the people side of business. And, I think that bringing somebody into your business can be scary, but there's also so much opportunity to learn from your employees, giving them space to make suggestions, and perhaps help you see ways to expand your business that you hadn't thought of before.
I think it's also important to keep an open mind, especially as Tracey mentioned, when you're doing business in other states. Maybe consider hiring a consultant even for a short period of time, so that we can, Xenium is a consulting company as well, and we can offer support in getting you set up in these different states. Alternatively, if you're looking at expanding your business outside of your own state, there's a company called CorpNet, CORPNET, and you can corpnet.com or .org, whatever it is. That is a company for about $200 to $300 will give you everything you need to know to get set up in that state, from the business license to compliance, work comp, different things like that. So that is definitely a resource that I recommend. It's very affordable comparatively, and to some other courses that or some other avenues that we've looked into at Xenium. So yes, corpnet.com. Perfect. Thank you. See that?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be one of the words of wisdom that I have, is know that you are not alone in this. Your colleagues want to help you be successful. And, I have been amazed throughout my career, as I have met people who have expertise in areas where maybe I don't, just how willing they are to share information. So please do reach out to ACHS. We're always here to support you, and think about your other colleagues and your network and how they can support you in your business, and in turn, what you can offer them to support their success. So I want to thank Colleen and Jennifer for all of your insights today. I really hope this has been beneficial for you, and I look forward to seeing many of you in our micro-credential. We provide the link here to register, and it will be in our follow-up email as well with the recording. And again, we're always here to answer your questions and provide you with support. Thank you, Catherine, for also sharing the link to the micro-credential in the chat box. Appreciate you all taking time out of your day today to join us. We have also provided the promotional codes for your discounted registration here. You're also welcome to share this with family and friends. So maybe you have a colleague that would benefit from learning more about HR essentials or becoming a wellness business operations specialist. You're welcome to share this, and that's valid through August 31st. So please reach out with any questions. Again, thank you, Colleen and Jennifer and Catherine, for all of your assistance. Our admissions team is always here as well, whether your questions are about our micro-credentials, our certificate, diploma, or degree programs. They're all here to support your success and help you gain the skills that will really help you achieve your professional goals.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.